Welcome to MTG Friends. I'm Ryan. We're going to do a Precon Kathril Aspect Warper from Commander 2020. We're going to tech this bad boy up. I've been playing the Precon for the last month or so in my play groups and decided I liked it so much it was time to upgrade this bad boy, tech it out. So as usual, let's go check the packages, the different sections as to what we did to get this thing ramped up. Now, a lot of the decks out there with Kathril is a lot of graveyard play. Most of the groups that I play with, there's so much graveyard hate, I decided to take it in some different directions. So you'll see what I mean. Let's check out the packages. All right, we got a good amount of tutoring here. We got just a few shenanigan cards, a lot of ramp. Get that commander out quickly. A little bit of graveyard hate, but nothing too crazy. Some typical draw you'd expect, typical protection. What I'm calling the talent section that goes and synergizes with the commander. We'll go through the commander in a moment, as well as a boatload of removal and our land package, of course. And I believe that's what we got going on, folks. All right, so let's go through the commander. Boom, boom in the room. Kathril Aspect Warper, 2 colorless, white, black, green Nightmare Insect. When it enters the battlefield, put a flying counter on any creature you control if a creature card in your graveyard has flying. And basically the same goes for first strike, double strike, death touch, hexproof, indestructible, lifelink, menace, reach, trample, and vigilance. Then put a 1/1 counter on Kathril for each counter put on a creature this way. And like I said, we're not going to try to dump a bunch of stuff into our graveyard because chances are they're just going to get removed with Bojuka Bogs and all sorts of other things. Plus, a lot of people run reanimation spells and we don't want them snaking them from us, which is why we have one of our graveyard hate spells in here. You'll see what I mean when we go through some of these talents and why we went the way we went. And I've premised it twice. I will stop premising this right now by going into the packages. We're going to go through the tutors real quick. Demonic Tutor, you should know this one by now if you've seen any of our other episodes. For 2, you put it in your hand, you tutor it up, and it's any card. Eladamri's Call for 2 in different colors. Search up for a creature card. Unfortunately, you have to reveal this one, but that's all right. That's all right. So, and you put it in your hand as well. Enlightened Tutor, you're going to fetch up and reveal an artifact or enchantment. Put it on top of your library at instant speed. Same thing with Tutor, instant speed. Lose 2 life, put it on top of your library. But you don't have to reveal it, which is nice. Worldly Tutor, same thing. Go grab a creature, reveal it, put it on top of your library. All right, Graveyard Hate. We got this one specifically in here because there's gonna be creatures in the graveyard. We don't want people playing them unless we want to utilize them with our commander mechanics. Vigilance, Menace, Lifelink. Creature cards in graveyards can't enter the battlefield. Players can't cast spells from graveyards. And as a reminder, on our commander, we get to do all sorts of jank if we have creatures with the quote-unquote talent section that we're going to get to. That will help the state of our board state. Oh, man. I'm leaving that in there. All right, moving on. And of course, as usual, if you have questions as we go along, just put them in the comments. I will answer every one of your questions. Angel's Grace. We got a couple protection pieces. We got Heroic Intervention. We got Teferi's Protection. And then I decided to put Angel's Grace in here for some of those last moment instant speed savior keister spells against burn and everybody swinging in, that kind of stuff. Split saying you can't lose the game this turn and your opponents can't win the game this turn until end of turn. Damage that would reduce your life total to less than 1 reduces it to 1 instead. So you can even do super jank against like Heliod, Walking Ballista combos, all sorts of other combos, squirrel combos. Yada, yada, yada. I like how I was saying heroic intervention gives all of our permanents hexproof and indestructible. Doesn't help with mass exiling, but everything else pretty much. Teferi's protection does. That's where everything phases out. Can't lose the game, can't win the game, etc., 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 until our untap step. And this one is just one of the best protection spells ever. Land. Let's blast through land. All right, Ancient Tomb. You know what this does. You tap for 2, cost you 2. Bajuka Bob to exile a player's graveyard if we need. Bountiful Promenade, that is with the 2 or more opponents, comes in untapped. Our pathways, we got all 3 colors of the pathways. Pathway. We got, yep, this is more of the comes in untapped if we have 2 or more basic lands, I believe that one is. I think this one was in the actual Commander Precon. I want to say it was. Caves of Kelios was also in the Precon. Command Tower, of course. Of course we're going to run Command Tower. And the other pathways. All the pathways. We got all the pathways! And this one is the comes in tapped unless you control 2 or more other lands. Exotic Orchard. We know what that does, right? But you know, just in case you don't know. Exotic Orchard, add 1 mana of any color that a land an opponent controls could produce. Fabled Passage comes in untapped if you have 4 lands out, including this one. And you can go snake a basic land card to do some mana fixing. Originally out of Eldraine. Just a few forests, not too many. And then we got all the shock lands in our colors and the Triome in our colors. And then we got the fetch lands in our colors as well. This one could easily be swapped out. Enters the battlefield, return land. Yeah, in fact, we're going to get rid of that right now. That one's going. Probably I'll just put it in a basic land for that one. That one snuck by me. This is the cool one at a Midnight Hunt. Comes in tapped unless you have 2 or more lands, which is very likely. Overgrown Tomb, some new iteration of it. Infinity, apparently. Whoa, that's the cool version. I like that version. My favorite is the original. Boom, Shockland. Got a few planes. Sandstep, this is in our colors. Does come in tapped. That's the one negative. So if you don't like coming in tapped lands, just swap it out for a regular old basic land, y'all. This is the one, if you have 2 or more lands, comes in untapped. You get the general gist. 3 swamps, Temple Garden, more shock lands. This is with 2 or more opponents. So of course, if you don't typically play more than 1v1, you're going to pull out these set of dual lands. Whoa, man. Brain. All right, Vault of Champions, same thing. The opponent's one. Fetch land, Verdant Catacombs. Oh, I love me some Golgari. More fetch. Fetch. All right, we are into shenanigans. Not too many shenanigans in this deck. Or are they? Whenever Avenger of Zendikar enters the battlefield, create an 0/1 green plant creature token for each land you control. Landfall. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you may put a 1/1 counter on each plant creature you control. This one is just such a strong green card that I just said, shove this bad boy in here. Why not? All right, now Journey to Eternity. There's only one card in here that works against us, Journey to Eternity, and that is our Graveyard Hate piece, the Hound. But otherwise, you can definitely play this card and it'll help you a lot. Enchanted creature you control. When enchanted creature dies, return it to the battlefield under your control. Then return Journey to Eternity to the battlefield, transform under your control. And then for a measly amount of mana, you can keep bringing creatures back from the graveyard. It's the only graveyard play card we have in here for the most part, I believe. Actually, I think it is the only one. All right, the Ozolith. Since we're going to have a lot of counters and counter shenanigans going on, whenever a creature you control leaves the battlefield, if it had counters on it, and that's any iteration of counters, keep that in mind. Put those counters on the Ozolith at the beginning of combat on your turn. If the Ozolith has counters on it, you may move all counters from the Ozolith onto target creature. We're going to be talking about counters for Hexproof, Flying, Lifelink, all the stuff that synergizes with our commander, yo. All right, Bane of Progress is just, oh, we're in draw now? Oh, apparently we're in draw. No, this is not a draw card. What's happening? Yeah, that should be in shenanigans. We're putting that in shenanigans, Joe. All right, this is a nice removal card. You know what? We'll put that in removal. That makes more sense. You're starting to see my process. Removal for artifacts and enchantments. If you need to just get rid of it, it destroys all of them on the battlefield and gives itself +1 counters for each destroyed. All right, removal, more removal. Well, you know what? Since we did some janky stuff, I'm going to make sure we haven't forgotten anything. All right, we went through the lands. Lands, what? Yep, we went through the lands, and then we did shenanigans, and then let's do draw. Draw. Harmonize. I left this in here because it was in the Precon, and it's not a bad spell. Draw 3 cards for 4 in green. Mangara the Diplomat for 4. It's got lifelink, so it'll synergize with our commander's mechanics. And whenever an opponent attacks you with creatures, if 2 or more of those creatures are attacking you and or planeswalkers you control, draw a card. Ooh, yeah. And if an opponent casts more than 1 spell a turn, you draw a card. Ooh, yeah. Phyrexian Altar, draw a card, including your first one plus the second, and lose 1 life. And who doesn't love Sylvan Library? Look at 3. You can keep 2 of them, including your draw, for 8 life. So 3 cards for 8 life. And you got to be careful because you can really start whacking yourself with too many life drains if you do this too many times. But it is fantastic in the mid-game, early game. All right, here's some talents. So they're going to have some kind of synergy with our commander. This one happens to have Death Touch and also removes artifacts or enchantments or land when it enters a battlefield. And it's in the Precon. Chroma Angel of Wrath, flying for strike, trample, haste, protection for black, protection from red. Attacking doesn't cause a chroma, and it's got vigilance. It's just old school. I wonder if it has vigilance shows up in the redo of this card. Does it just say vigilance? Boop, boop, boop. Let's find out. Time Spiral? No. There, yeah. It changed it says vigilance in here. Old school. Old school, yo. All right, let's keep rolling. A Chroma Vision of Ixidor. It's a 7-drop 6/6, but we have plenty of ramp. Flying for strike, vigilance, trample at the beginning of each combat until the end of turn. Each other creature you control gets 1/1 if it has flying. And that's just +1/+1, not counters. +1/+1 if it has first strike, and so on for double strike, death touch, haste, hexproof, indestructible, lifelink, menace, protection, reach. Whoa. So your creatures could start getting gigantic, especially with the synergies of our commander. I just love saying synergies in this episode. Avacyn, Angel of Hope. This one is flying, vigilance, indestructible, and our other permanents have indestructible. Notice it says permanents, not just creatures. So this thing is super protective of all of our stuff. Baneslayer Angel, one of the funniest things it has about this is it has protection from demons and from dragons. Oddly specific. And flying first strike, lifelink, protection from the demon and dragon. Bruna, yes, we have the combo here. We got Bruna, and also we got its buddy, which is Gasilla, the Broken Blade. When you cast Bruna, the Fading Light, you can go fetch up. Is this the one that fetches? You may return target angel or human creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. No, the other one fetches Bruna. And it's got flying and vigilance. Vigilance, flying, vigilance. Carnage Tyrant can't be countered. Yeah, buddy. Trample and hexproof. So, we just keep seeing these talents start stacking up. It's very awesome. Awesome is about as good as I can get right now. Flying, trample for Doom Whisperer, pay 2 life, and surveil. In case you didn't know what surveil was, you can look at the top 2 cards of your library, and you put any number of them into the graveyard and the rest on top of your library. So it helps you filter, and if you want to get stuff into your graveyard when you're about to cast your commander. All right, Elder Gargaroth, just a very solid 5-drop that also happens to have Vigilance, Reach, and Trample. Plus, each time it blocks or attacks, you can do one of these. You can either make a 3/3 beast, gain 3 life, or draw a card. Draw a card is probably what you'll end up doing most of the time. All right, Casilla the Broken Blade. This is the other combo that if you have them both out on the battlefield, you can flip it and turn into this monstrosity 9/10 craziness, which you can see on the screen now. But it's also got Flying First Strike and Lifelink. At the beginning of your end step, if you both own and control Gisela the Broken Blade and a creature named Bruna, then you get to turn it into the Voice of Nightmares, which is a crazy card. We got a few gods in here. This one's got double strike, and whenever you cast a creature spell, you get to make a 4/4 black zombie warrior creature token with Vigilance. And when it dies, you can put it in third from the top, and you can choose to do that, which usually you will do that. All right, I believe this one was in the Commander deck, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Yep. All right, Flying Death Touch. Whenever Hornet Queen enters the battlefield, create 4 1/1 green insect creature tokens with Flying and Death Touch. This one is surprisingly great. This can win you games, especially late game, and you just need something out on the board. Wow, this thing is way more powerful than you actually would think because it costs 4 green. So, easily swappable. I actually like this card, though, so I left it in. Nikara Lair Scavenger. This was in the Precon. I left it in with its partner as well. Partner with Yannick Scavenging Sentinel. It's got Menace. Whenever another creature you control leaves the battlefield, if it had 1 or more counters on it, you draw a card and lose a life. The draw mechanic of this is great, and it definitely does synergize with the Commander. Oketra the True. Double strike, indestructible. Can't attack or block unless you have 3 other creatures. And for 4, create a 1/1 white warrior creature token with Vigilance. What's really nice about this card is if you get a board wipe, it's already got indestructible built into it. So they're going to have to exile it to get rid of this persnickety and sticky god. Oh, the gods in Magic. Questing Beast. Wow, this thing is just a bananas card out of Throne of Eldraine. 4-drop, 4/4 Vigilance, Death Touch, Haste. And it can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less. And if that wasn't enough, combat damage that would be dealt by creatures you control can't be prevented. And on top of that, whenever Questing Beast deals combat damage to an opponent, it deals that much damage to target planeswalker that player controls. Oh, as you know, the ongoing joke is like, what doesn't Questing Beast do? What doesn't it do? Ronos the Indomitable, another god, Death Touch, indestructible, and it can't attack or block unless you have another creature power 4 or greater. But it is also indestructible, and if it's in your graveyard, it lets your commander trigger. And for 3, another target creature gets +2/+0 and gains trample until end of turn. Yes, sir. Yes, sir, indeed. This is the Garda, Host of Herons. It's a 2 green/white flying hexproof. Spells and abilities your opponents control can't cause you to sacrifice permanents. And often there is sacking going on in the opponents I'm playing with. So this one's great and very solid in this deck. The Haunt of Hightower. I think it only has the foil version. Yeah, I think this was a pro. I can't remember how this one came to be. Flying Lifelink. Whenever the Haunt of Hightower attacks, defending player discards a card. Whenever a card is put into an opponent's graveyard from anywhere, put a 1/1 counter on the Haunt of Hightower. Just a very solid 6-drop that also has Flying and Lifelink that synergizes. But if there's another card that you like better, just swap this one out. This is an easily swappable card. Toski, Bear of Secrets. Wow, this thing is just going to always be popular, I think. Can't be countered, indestructible, and it makes all your creatures let you draw a card if they do damage to a player. It is fabuloso. A great board clear for flyers. Whip Tongue Hydra. It's got reach. Synergizes, and when it enters the battlefield, it destroys all flyers, and it gets 1/1 counters on it for each flyer you whack-a-mold. Yannick Scavenging Sentinel in the Precon. This is the partner with Nikara. It's got Vigilance, And when it enters the battlefield, exile another creature you control till it leaves the battlefield. When you do, distribute X 1/1 counters among any number of target creatures, where X is the exiled creature's power. So it's just synergizing with the awesomeness, with all of our other counters going on. Great card, great card. All right, we got ramp. We're going to blast through this. This is all the ramp you'd expect. The signets in our colors. We'll just blast through this. Arcane, Bird's Paradise, Chromatic Lantern to make all of our lands any color we want, plus it's a mana rock itself. Cultivate to go grab a couple lands. Most of you already know what Cultivate is. Golgari Signet. Karametra, God of Harvest. I believe this was in the Commander deck. Yes, it was. It's also got Indestructible. It's got a Devotion thing for 7. Otherwise, it's not a creature. And then it's just an enchantment. Whenever you cast a creature spell, you can go grab yourself a forest or a plains card, put it in tap. So it also lets us ramp that way. Leyline Prowler. This is nice because it's got the synergies of Death Touch, Lifelink, and you can tap it to add a color of any kind we need. And it's a nice little 3-drop. The other Signet, we're running all 3 Signets. Signet. Sky Shroud Claim. I love this 4-drop because it lets you go grab 2 forest cards that come in untapped, which is nice. Smothering Tithe. This is just a janky, great card in white. This creates treasure tokens for us that we can sack for any color we need. Our opponents have to pay 2 each time, so you are going to end up with tokens unless it gets wiped off the board quick. Soul Ring, yep. Sylvan Caryatid. This one's in here because it's got the Defender and the Hexproof. Rather than playing like a Land War Elves or something, we're putting this in here because it synergizes with our Commander, plus it's a mana dork as well. So if it's in the graveyard, then when our Commander enters the battlefield, Hexproof is one of the counters we get to utilize. 3 visits, go grab a forest card, put it in untapped for 2. All right, we got a good amount of removal. Abrupt Decay, can't be countered, destroy non-land permanent with mana cost 3 or less. Anguished Unmaking, which I want to say it was in this build precon. Exile target non-land permanent, you lose 3 life. Go ahead and Whack-A-Mole, a permanent. They get a basic land for your troubles. I love that it's a permanent of any kind. Aura Shards. Oh, what a just gross, hateful card. Whenever a creature comes into play under your control, you can destroy target artifact or enchantment. And it has May, so you don't have to like destroy your own enchantments or artifacts if there's nothing to target. Bane of Progress, we already talked about. Beast Within, go destroy a permanent, give him a 3/3 beast. A big old staple in green. Blood Curdle, this one, I want to say it was in the precon. Maybe it wasn't. Destroy target creature, put a menace counter on a creature you control. We have that because it allows us to get the menace counter. All right, Damned. Overload for 4 in white. Destroy target creature. A creature destroyed this way can't be regenerated for 2 black. I just think this is a very versatile card when we have both those colors in our color wheel. Damnation, when we just got to reset that board. Despark, exile target permanent with mana value 4 or greater. This one was in the precon, I believe. Force of Vigor, this one is just a nice removal spell for artifacts and or enchantments. And if it's not your turn, you can dump a green card and not pay anything in terms of mana to whack-a-mole a couple artifacts or enchantments. Path to Exile, go ahead and exile a creature. They get a basic land for their troubles. Settle the Wreckage. This is in here. I've seen it work numerous times. It's always a surprise unless you know it's in their deck and you can read their face. It's at instant speed, which is nice. Exile all attacking creatures target player controls. That player may search his or her library for that many basic land cards, put those cards onto the battlefield, tap, then shuffle his or her library. What a great late game, mid game card to have at your disposal if you need it. Sword to Plowshares, we know what this does. Exile target creature, they gain life equal to its power, I believe. Power? Power. Yeah, power. Wrath of God, the white version, the original version of Wrath. Destroy all creatures. They can't be regenerated. And just like that, folks, we have come full circle. Kathril Aspect Warper. This is fun to play as the Precon. I enjoyed it. I just didn't enjoy it enough. Decided I had to tech this thing out. Hope you enjoyed this. If you have any questions or comments, just put them in the comment section. There'll be a link to this deck in Architect. Rock on till the break of dawn. Thanks for being a supporter of the channel, y'all. Peace.